In tonight's news edition, the King and the Iraqi Prime Minister hold talks on ways of boosting bilateral ties and taking practical and effective measures to develop cooperation in various fields. The Prime Minister and his Iraqi counterpart co-chair meetings of the Jordanian-Iraqi Higher Committee and sign minutes covering a number of economic issues. And the UN Arab League envoy to Syria discusses with the Syrian president plans to end the Syrian crisis as fighting continues across the country. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. His Majesty the King and Iraqi Prime Minister Noor al-Maliki held talks on ways of cementing Jordanian-Iraqi ties and agreed to take practical and effective measures to develop cooperation in various fields. Maliki, who paid a several-hour visit to the kingdom, and Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour briefed the king on the outcome of the 7th session of the joint Jordanian-Iraqi Higher Committee, which they chaired earlier in the day. The King and Maliki also discussed closer coordination between the two countries on regional issues, as well as scopes of enhancing pan-Arab cooperation to counter current challenges. His Majesty stressed Jordan's full support of Iraq in its effort to bring security and stability to the country, key pillars of regional peace. King Abdullah reiterated Jordan's support of efforts that aim at promoting national reconciliation, unity of Iraqi people's ranks, and bringing all Iraqis into the country's political process. The meeting also tackled the situation in the region, namely efforts to bring about a just and comprehensive peace for the Palestinian people and the Syrian crisis. Maliki commended the King's support of Iraq's stability, stressing his keenness on forging closer ties with Jordan in economic, trade, investment, and other fields. On the sidelines of the talk and in the presence of ministers and officials, Maliki and Mansour signed minutes of the Higher Committee meeting, which covered a number of economic issues. The minutes also dealt with means of cementing cooperation in political, trade, investment, energy, and mineral resources, financial, transport, agricultural, and other fields. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour and his Iraqi counterpart also chaired meetings of the joint Jordanian-Iraqi Higher Committee. Mansour said al-Maliki's visit reflected the strong ties between the two countries. The Iraqi Prime Minister voiced willingness to boost cooperation with Jordan in various fields. Maliki said both sides have a common interest in exporting Iraqi oil through the Aqaba port and mentioned plans to construct an oil pipeline to provide Jordan with its crude needs. In a joint press statement before al-Maliki's departure, Mansour said both sides discussed economic, scientific, cultural, and agricultural ties and means of promoting them. The Iraqi Prime Minister said his country is looking forward to forging closer cooperation and integration with Jordan, stressing that today's talks were a strong sign of more serious future relations. UN Arab League Joint Special Envoy to Syria, Lakhdar Brahimi, discussed with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad plans to end the Syrian crisis. Brahimi said the talks focused on the current situation in Syria and exchanged views and steps that could be taken in the future to end the crisis. However, Brahimi insisted that the situation is still worrying. Luay Balqar has the details.
The international envoy tasked ending Syria's civil war is worried after discussing the crisis with President Bashar al-Assad. No indication of progress was apparent in efforts to achieve a negotiated solution to the conflict. Lakhdar Brahimi briefed reporters after meeting the Syrian leader at the presidential palace in Damascus. He and Assad exchanged views on the conflict and discussed possible steps forward, which he did not disclose.
We have exchanged opinions about the steps that can be taken in the future, and the President spoke about his vision regarding this situation, and I spoke about what I have seen abroad, the interviews that I have done in different cities with different officials in the region and out of the region, and also about the steps that I can see being taken to help the Syrian people to exit this crisis.
Brahimi also discussed with Assad the potential solutions to the crisis that has killed more than 44,000 people.
The situation in Syria is still a worry. We hope that all sides will work towards a solution that the Syrian people want.
The meeting was Brahimi's third with Assad, but the opposition expressed deepening frustration with the mission following what it called the latest massacre of the civilians in Hama. There has been speculation that President Bashar al-Assad may deliberately seek to widen the conflict by using chemical weapons against his people. However, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Assad had given Moscow repeated assurances he had no plans to order such an attack.
I don't believe Syria would use chemical weapons. It would be a political suicide for the government if it does. Every time we hear rumors or pieces of information come to surface that the Syrians are doing something with their chemical weapons, we double check, we triple check, we go directly to the government, and we get all the time we get the very firm assurances that this is not going to be used under any circumstances.
Lavrov had rejected requests from countries in the region to pressure Assad to step down or to offer him safe haven. Luay Balkar for the News at 10.
In the latest violence in Syria, clashes broke outside a village in central Hama province. Rebels reported shooting down a government fighter jet using anti-aircraft machine guns. In northern Aleppo, rebels took over a military base and seized military vehicles and various types of weapons and ammunition. Rebels succeeded in capturing several military sites around the country, causing government forces to hit back heavily with air and artillery strikes. The fighting is nearing Damascus, the center of Assad's power. Standard & Poor's cut Egypt's long-term credit rating and said another cut was possible if deepening political turbulence undermines efforts to prop up the economy and public finances. A divisive battle over a new constitution this month has also prompted the government to delay urgent austerity measures. By forcing the pace on the constitution, President Mohamed Morsi risks squandering the opportunity to build consensus for the austerity measures desperately needed to kickstart an ailing economy. The opposition said they would continue to challenge the charter through protests and other democratic means. Leishan Qiti has more in this report.
A tally by the Muslim Brotherhood indicated a 64% yes vote, although only a third of the 51 million eligible Egyptians took part. An opposition count was similar, but they said that the ballot had been marred by abuses in both rounds.
The new law, it's not for all citizens, or for Muslims brothers only. And a lot of mistakes in the new law. The result will be yes, and the other side, they won't know, will make a lot of problem for results. But it will be a lot of blood. It will be.
The opposition, a loose alliance of liberals, moderate Muslims and Christians, says the document is too Islamist, ignores the rights of minorities, and represents a recipe for more trouble in the country. Egyptian judges were investigating opposition accusations of voting irregularities before declaring the result of a referendum set to show that a contentious new constitution has been approved. The Muslim Brotherhood, which propelled President Mohamed Morsi to power in a June election, said that 64% of voters backed the charter after 2 rounds of voting that ended with a final ballot, although not official.
I tell about the election, yes, I want to see my country, the quiet, no problem. About the people, we Islamic with Christian people, no problem.
If the yes vote is confirmed, a parliamentary election will follow in about 2 months, setting the stage for Islamists and their opponents to renew their battle. Under the new constitution, legislative powers that have been temporarily held by Morsi move to the Islamist-dominated upper house of parliament until a new lower house is elected. Leishan Qiti for the News at 10.
On the occasion of the Christmas holiday, Latin Bishop of Jordan Maroun Laham expressed hope for love and peace to spread at a time when the region is witnessing many changes. In his remarks, he voiced hope that security and economic stability will continue to prevail in the kingdom under the wise Hashemite leadership. He also wished all Christians and Jordanians a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Palestinians and Christian pilgrims prepare to celebrate Christmas Eve under heavy security in the West Bank town of Bethlehem. Worshippers flock to the Church of Nativity, revered as the birthplace of Jesus Christ, ahead of the annual midnight mass service. Palestinian Tourism Minister Rulam Aaya said the number of tourists had increased 20% in the last year, with 15,000 pilgrims expected in Bethlehem on Christmas Eve and 10,000 on Christmas Day. Aaya expressed her enthusiasm and optimism for the Christmas season. Some 500 pilgrims left the Gaza enclave en route to the West Bank via Israel, where they will join family members to celebrate the holiday. Even Gazans who are younger than 16 or older than 35 were granted Israeli permits to leave the Hamas-run territory. Deputizing for His Majesty the King, Foreign Minister Nasser Joudeh will join Christmas celebrations tonight in the city of Bethlehem. Joudeh's visit aims at wishing Christians around the world a Merry Christmas by joining Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and other officials at the Church of Nativity for Christmas Mass at midnight. Thousands of Christian pilgrims and tourists from across the world have traveled to Bethlehem for the celebration that will be led by Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Fuad Atwal. In China, white-collar workers and university students released their stress and forgot about the pressure of life by taking part in a pillow fight. The fight, which first took place 6 years ago, was designed as a creative outlet for pent-up tension. The founder and mastermind of the event said that the annual stress release was important for young people facing pressures from work and school. Around 200 participants held pillows as organizers counted down before the 10-minute fight, which saw pillows and feathers flying through the air. The San Antonio Spurs spoiled the much-anticipated NBA season debut of Dirk Nowitzki with a 129-91 pounding of the Dallas Mavericks. The former league MVP came off the bench to finish with 8 points on 3 of 4 shooting, including 1 triple after sitting out the first 27 games following surgery on his right knee. Frenchman Tony Parker netted 18 points and Tim Duncan 15 for the Spurs. Darren Collison had a team-high 15 points for Dallas, who have lost 3 straights and 6 of their past 7 games. Britain's Queen Elizabeth will use her traditional Christmas Day message to pay tribute to the world's athletes for delivering a splendid summer of sport at the London Olympics. The monarch expressed pride in the participants' skill, dedication, training, and teamwork. At the London Olympics opening ceremony, the Queen showed her sense of humor when she made a surprise comic turn with James Bond actor Daniel Craig in a short film. And finally, a look at the weather. Cold and partly cloudy tonight with a chance for rain in the southern and eastern region, accompanied by thunder. A slight drop in temperature is expected tomorrow. Therefore, it will be relatively cold and partly cloudy with scattered rain in the southern and eastern regions. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect fair weather tomorrow with northerly moderate winds picking up at times and choppy seas. The weatherman cautions against poor visibility due to dust, as well as flash floods in low-lying areas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. To end the news, here's a reminder of our top stories. The King and the Iraqi Prime Minister hold talks on ways of boosting bilateral ties and taking practical and effective measures to develop cooperation in various fields. The Prime Minister and his Iraqi counterpart co-chair meetings of the Jordanian-Iraqi Higher Committee and sign minutes covering a number of economic issues. And the UN Arab League envoy to Syria discusses with the Syrian president plans to end the Syrian crisis as fighting continues across the country. With that, we end our news for tonight. And from all of us here at JTV, we wish you a very Merry Christmas. Have a good night.